Hey there, Virgo, and welcome to your reading with me, Melissa Joy, as we take a peek at the energies going around you, friend. So part of what I saw in the meditation, and the word premeditation keeps coming out. I told, was it Leo? No, Cancer, that they're also supposed to check out your reading. So it may be a reciprocal reading for you as well, because that word came up again. It's things being thought of ahead of time. But it's interesting because you're talking about old records coming to light. How else did you say it? Facing the past with new eyes. Now, what's pretty interesting is you're off to a good start. That's what's showing up here with this Page of Pentacles. Now, as I began to move, and the Judgment behind there. Okay, you're clearing away some special self-judgment that you had. Maybe you have higher expectations of yourself than you do of those around you, and it keeps causing you to cater to these situations that wear you down and play you out in an unlovely light, or whether it's to others, but most specifically to yourself, okay? You keep playing underhanded towards yourself, skimming off the deck for yourself, holding the ace up the sleeve is what I'm saying. You're like, oh, I've got an ace. I shouldn't have that. Let me put it up my sleeve and let me just set it aside and pretend it's not there. And before you know it, you have a deck that's unloaded. All the aces are gone. Now, you being fantastic and marvelous and wonderful doesn't put anyone else at a disadvantage. You're not harming anyone by you being excellent, beautiful, abundant, wonderful, divine, and alive. I'm talking to men and women here. Okay, friend? Now, remember, we are the whole zodiac, so irregardless of why you showed up here, correction now. I am speaking to you. If you are here, this is about you, okay? So don't second guess yourself. You showed up for a reason. Trust yourself, my friend. That's that old fug mug of mine. This is a mug. If you ever hear me, that is a mug. It's like busting your chops, being all hard on yourself, painting yourself in an unattractive light, an unlovely light, downplaying things. And like there was this one day I'm walking into the grocery, and there I noticed this woman. I was getting out of my car. She was already streaming up more towards the front of the store and moving across the breezeway. But I'm a pretty fast walker, and so just by chance, I happened to end up there about the same time that she's coming in. And I thought, wow, she looks great in that outfit. And before I got it out of my mouth, someone else streams by and they're like, I love that dress on you. And I turned around and I was like, I was just thinking the same thing. And it kind of gave her giddiness, but then she said, oh, really? Well, I just got it a couple of days ago and I found it on sale in this back rack and only paid $16 for it. So she chopped it down to size. Don't take your gorgeous, delicious, a wonderful, abundant, fruitful tree of life and put it in the pencil sharpener, my friend. That is not where you belong. You belong in the glory. You belong in the light of day. You belong where you are, because guess what? You being the tree of life planted right there, look around you. Everyone else has their own place too. You're taking away from no one. You're not sucking up their part, up their nutrients, or doing anyone a disservice by you being fantastic. Now you'll be like, Joy, how come you telling me all that? And I'm like, because I am supposed to. When I was doing the pre-shuffle, getting this ready, all these big magnanimous cards kept showing up. The Chariot was there. The Eight of Wands was there. And it was talking about not exactly knowing what to do with all this fabulousness inside of you. Now, mind you, this is what I know to be true. Those aren't your words, so don't cringe at it, friend. But that's the truth of what is actually here. And it creates a bit of chaos. So like tangled yarn, to where you sometimes feel like you can't get to the project or get to your desires. And it's because certain things you've set against yourself as a counteraction to make sure you're not too great or too suchy much or too shiny or too Queen of Wands is like, put it straight up in their grill, Joy. So you don't get the big head. Oh, see, you don't get the big head, start thinking too much of yourself. But I'm telling you, that way of living is thinking too much about yourself. Those prepositions about, of, from, to, around, they're like, what makes one better than the other? When you begin to live from your truth and live who you are, it's these beautiful strokes of genius. It's just like an artist. They know where to dip the pen, the paint, the oils, the whatever, and begin to apply it. They don't just start taking out all over, holding back. It's that being able to be in touch with the pulse of who you are. You getting all scientific here, but they're talking. You've been working against yourself. Okay? This hot, cold, on again, off again. Hey, I'll kind of approve of this, but not of this. How are you chopping yourself up? I mean, when you chop this branch off a tree and that branch and this branch, it's still the same tree. If it's an oak tree, those are all oak branches. Do you see what I mean? So you're using that unfounded judgment, ungrounded judgment, a different, not even just higher, different expectations for yourself than the way you live towards others. So that becomes, it tinges the integrity. And you're all about integrity. Life is saying, be fair to you, my friend. So you might also check out Gemini. That has a lot to do with fairness, leveling the playing field, not so one's better or not than the other, so that you recognize we're all humans and we're all here. And you want others to thrive and succeed as much as you do. Well, how can they if you've got this chaotic world going on inside of you? Each one of us, our happiness impacts this world. So when you step into the truth of who you are and embrace your whole self, that you're that oak or that pine or that spruce or that azalea or whatever it is that's true to who you are, begin to love all of you. And don't be judging those parts or trying to minimize them or play them up. That's what makes it get all tangled. All right. So let's get in here. I know I'm going to get a shaman. Y'all hold on a second. They're there flashing at me, the big head. And the bad mama Gemma. Even the one off in the distance is calling it forward. And she's like, you were hitting this straight on the head, field goal. Okay? So sometimes, especially when you've striven to reach a certain goal and you feel like you didn't achieve it, they're like, don't blast out that fourth down. Go ahead and get the kicking team out. Go for the 3 points when you don't get the 7. Because irregardless, you're gaining ground and you're showing honor to the effort that you've already put in. And then celebrate yourself. Appreciate yourself. They're like, stop driving down the interstate with the emergency brake pulled up. Let the full appreciation come in. Let the savor come in. Because with that, then life can get behind you and begin to create more momentum in that direction. More favor as opposed to fervor. All right. Six of Wands and 10 of Swords. So apparently, my friend, this is a challenge for you. Okay, because it's still showing up in the cards now, saying that we can call it deep, but when I look and know it's not actually deep. It's all right here in plain sight. All right. So it can be, and just starting to entertain this suggestion at your own time and space, in your own place. Just entertain it, okay? You don't have to all of a sudden shift and become some totally different person, because actually you're just becoming more you. But say you're out shopping and you think, oh, I love that. And then you get close, you're like, no, that's too blingy. That's too flashy. That's too fitted. That's too suchy much to whatever. So I'm just gonna, I probably ought to just pick these. Yeah, those feel comfortable. Yeah, that feels good. I know I like how I look in that. But do you see what you just did? You tempered yourself. You turned it down. You're like downplaying things. And if you think of that as simple science, say, I'll give you a little background on candy making. Now, you can take sugar, and when you apply different levels of heat to it, where it reaches different levels, then you change the properties of the sugar. It goes from something that could be maybe a caramel to something that becomes a sucker, okay? Hard versus soft versus chewy versus something that cracks or or shatters into layers or creates strata or things like that. So you thinking that you're not really doing anything, you're actually changing the properties of the outcome. You're putting it in a format that isn't going to play out the way that you had planned it, the way you were seeing it. So you can't do this in one little element of your life and expect that it's not going to impact you across the board. All right, that's what yeah, Queen of Wands has her hands on her hips and says, reinforce this and let them know. You can't make these little adjustments over here, you know, and the thing is like you're working against your favor. Okay, so by you belittling yourself and causing this gradient and this friction against yourself is creating it in all of the realm. Everywhere, okay? So maybe to sit with this a little bit, you might look at the areas of your life that feel like they're hard or they're challenging, or why you can't get ahead at work, or why this always piles up on you, or why you don't ever get this task completed, and realize that that is coming as a tug of war and a result of how over here you're like, no, I'm not going to stand out as being great as that because that's going to seem like I'm arrogant. So you ease it in and tilt it this way. Well, that bit of adjusting like a rope or a string has to come from somewhere. So that's where it's playing out. The ripple effect or the echo effect is playing out in those other areas that are challenging, difficult, or hard. And right now, I don't know if you can see a pencil scrolling across my mind because I'm like, I listen to all of these, but I'm like, I really need to take notes on this reading because that's something that I can recognize at certain areas of time in my life as well. And I would like to hear this without these flapping, to hear it clearly. Okay, so with the Six of Wands and the Ten of Swords, can you give us, no, I'm asking you to give us this way to glow up, to lighten up, that feels true to who Virgo is. Okay, how do we get that sword? You're talking about you're very strategic. You've been keeping your heart in check. That's the only sword that actually has landed in you. You go for the kill. It's destructive, this pattern. The everything but. The everything but. Giving yourself everything but the one thing that you actually desire. The one thing that you actually love. The one thing that you actually need. The one thing that you actually require. And she's talking about permission. They are standing here asking you to give yourself permission to be you, to truly be you, to be who you are from the center of yourself, and to trust and know that your sunflower blossoming and blooming doesn't blot out everybody else's seed and everybody else's sunflower. Can you see how that sounds now when you talk about it in just plain, natural, everyday life? And through the element of science, you blossoming and abounding means there's more food for the wildlife. It means the soil is being captured and trapped down so it doesn't erode away. And as those roots of multiple sunflowers come together, it protects that ground. And those seeds fall to the ground and produce a harvest for next year and the next and the next. Do you know some areas plant the sunflowers just to see the beauty surround them, to watch them as a clock following the sun? Do you know that that's inspirational? That people love watching you follow the sun? That they love watching your radiance, which is your beauty? Because our beauty is the truth of who we are. It's when trusting the flow of spirit coming to them and following that path, that as you do, that gives them permission, because you live by example, to be their amazing, wonderful self. So by you doing this, you're actually freeing up the whole world with a message of truth. It says, and you too, my friend, you do you, you be your amazing self. Okay? So, and that leads in to the truth of life. Okay? Life comes walking in. It's like, this is like an excavator you're talking about, but an elevator. So look at it like this, okay? So imagine it's like this. And it's going, like they have these things that when you crank it like that, it just coils it and brings it right on up, like an elevator. like an elevator for your heart. Let your heart come forward, my friend, because as you do, it's your vote for the whole world that you've been saving, that you've been loving, that you've been serving. I hope this speaks to your heart, Virgo. And if it does, you could consider like, sharing, and subscribing down below. It is free as always, and it helps us rise to the top. And it's a vote for yourself, all right? So until next time, I love you.